We're going to watch the most important part of the board meeting, which is the financial report. Dave Oxier is gone finally. He came in. I've lost track of time, but I think it was maybe 2 years ago, and he took over for what was her name, whatever her name was. I don't remember, but he was supposed to be temporary. An old friend of Neil's. Neil only hires people he knows for obvious reasons. This is the new person now. Dave, he made a few $100,000 extra in his pocketbook, and I'm sure he's bumped his pension, and he's gone back to wherever he came from. So let's listen to the new, was it CFO, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you. Good morning, President Warner and members of the board. The report you received on the first quarter reflects results that, while early in the year, are generally good news and reflect a steady financial state for Trimet. Total revenue came in higher than budgeted by $500,000. Total operating expenses were $8.7 million lower than budget.
Did you hear what she just said? Operating expenses were $8.7 million lower than budgeted. And that's not including the Trimet Victorious contract deal.
Producing a positive net result from operations that's better than budget by $9.2 million. Compared to the same quarter last year, payroll tax grew 1.8%, but was slightly under budget for the quarter. Passenger revenue for fiscal year to date is 2.7% higher than budget, or $800,000. Overall, ridership has increased 6.7%, as Neil noted, compared to the same time period in the prior year. During the first quarter, Trimet received $1.8 million in operating grant revenue, with another $74.1 million expected by the end of the year. Now, I'd like to touch on some of the areas that, just in a higher level version, if you have any specific questions, please stop me. But on the system operating expenses, the system operating expenses for the quarter are 6% under budget, or $6.6 million, with $5.2 million of the variance occurring in the operations division for a variety of reasons. Operating project expenses, including repairs and maintenance to existing infrastructure, are also below budget by $2.2 million at the end of the first quarter.
As you can see by her report here, everything is coming up roses for Trimet management here. I mean, they have millions and millions of dollars of extra money available to them.
Timing of expenses is one of the primary reasons for the variances at the end of the first quarter. On our general fund debt service activity, try not to get too deep in the weeds on this, so please bring me back up if I start to go there. But at the end of the first quarter, Trimet deposits, including interest earnings to debt service funds, total $6.9 million, and principal and interest payments to bondholders and leaseholders total $13.4 million.
You heard that right. This is important. That's the debt service, also known as a Trimet credit card. In the last quarter, they made $13.4 million in payments to banks and bondholders. That's in the last quarter. Because you never hear anybody talking about the debt service, which is the debt, the interest on the debt, which is actually almost as high as the unfunded obligations of the employees, which I guess it's not unfunded anymore because they've changed that. But that debt service is one of the dirty little secrets that you never hear about. And it's huge because the people that are really making money off of Trimet are the banks. They're making money off of everybody, but the fact that they can make money off a governmental unit is kind of bizarre.
The September 30 balance in debt service restricted accounts is $31.1 million. On to the statement of capital contributions and capital expenditures. Total capital expenditures, including light rail program expenditures, are $64.5 million for the fiscal year to date, with expenditures of $46.1 million for the PMLR project alone. Trimet has received the first 3 installments of the full funding grant agreement for the PMLR project, totaling $279.5 million.
$279.5 million. See, this is why I'm so angry about the whole health insurance thing. I mean, they got $1.5 billion to put in a light rail line that wasn't needed. Okay, it's a town of 20,000 people. It already had bus service. They just decided they were going to put this light rail in because of the whole, okay, we're going to develop the area or whatever with the light rail. But I mean, the government money flows like water for things that have nothing to do with citizens. But if the citizens, like us, like union employees who actually kill ourselves at the job, actually want decent health insurance, well, the government can't fund that. I mean, that's all old news. I mean, you don't want to hear it again. I know it's in a different pocket. It's all set up so you can't use it for that. But that's just how they con you. That's how they con everybody.
Just a brief comment on the negative $59.3 million showing on this report, and that's the difference between the capital contributions versus capital expenditures that were paid by bond proceeds. So the statement of net position is the last one I'd like to comment on, and those are the statement of the net position measures the difference between total assets and deferred outflows and total liabilities and deferred inflow of resources of the agency. So Trimet's total net position at September 30 is $1.7 billion.
Okay, you did hear that, right? Trimet's sitting on $1.7 billion. Positive. They have, their net worth is $1.7 billion. Now, I would say, if they have a net worth of $1.7 billion, why are we losing our health insurance?
Trimet's current assets have decreased $103.5 million since June 30th, due largely to the use of funds for the PMLR project and all the associated debt service. With respect to non-current assets, the value of property and equipment increased by $42 million. This is a net effect of $64.5 million in capital acquisitions, offset by $22.2 million in depreciation. Total liabilities have decreased $33.1 million since June 30th.
Now, I know you heard that. Liabilities have decreased. Sorry about that. Liabilities have decreased $30+ million. Now, how the liabilities decrease? We haven't lost anything yet. I mean, really, if you really look at these financial, start thinking about it, you see that we've been conned.
Long-term debt decreased $11.4 million due to debt service payments on bonds in September. OPEB liability has increased $20 million since June, with $450.8 million shown as a non-current liability on the balance sheet.
See, that's where it starts getting confusing. She just said the liabilities have decreased, and then 30 seconds later she says, well, the OPEB has increased by millions. Now, we've heard in a previous clip that they make adjustments at will by saying, oh, we changed the projections here, or we adjusted the projection down over there. So I mean, they can monkey with these numbers at will anytime they want, just by saying we're changing the projections. So it's all very nebulous.
The net pension liability of $182.1 million is a decrease from June 30th of $4.4 million. Current liabilities have decreased $37.9 million since June 30th. The unearned capital project revenue continues to represent a significant portion of current liabilities, and it totals $149.2 million at September 30th. The September investment portfolio report shows $106.5 million of unrestricted cash and investments.
They're sitting on $106 million that they could, that Neil could hire a second deputy general manager if he wanted him to. They got $100 million over there, unrestricted, to play with any way they want.
So, going along with the new financial plan, the guidelines, this is 2.5 times our operating expenses would be $102.9 million. So you can see that we're well within that guideline. The report also shows $168.6 million of investments restricted for the PMLR. And these funds are drawn from the State of Oregon lottery bond proceeds and a portion of the proceeds from the interim financing, which is restricted for use on the Milwaukee project. So that concludes my report. I understand this is the highlight of the meeting, but
It's all very dull and boring, but it's actually the most important part of the TriMet board meetings, and I listen to it very closely. Do I know all the nuances and what it all means? Of course not, but you understand. See, the best thing that you can really grasp from these reports is the power that TriMet wields, because all of that money in there, that you're talking billions, and power, and then the culture we live in. Power comes from the cash. That's where the power comes. If you have the money, you have the power. And this is where TriMet's influence is so huge in this area. They have so much money going out, and it's going out to all the people that are in all the various power positions in this community. Don't forget, we have one party rule here. There's no opposing party. So you have this great network of insiders that are running this whole show here in Portland. And I'm not, is it good or bad? I'm doing all right in Portland. I know lots of people that are doing all right in Portland, and there's some people that aren't doing so all right. But I will wonder the amount of corruption that's going on, that's unseen, that's unseeable because of the way the whole thing is set up with such a tight network, and you can see how it's all tightly controlled. And you do have to wonder about these things.